Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Tabitha and I'm the maker and creator behind Safari Stitches, and I do a lot of market content, market prep, crochet with me, and just some basic studio vlogs and a bunch of other fun stuff. Right now we are in the thick, well, not really in the thick of Vlogmas, but it is day 3 of Vlogmas, and this is my first time participating, and I think I might have bitten off a little bit more than I can chew, but it's fine. We're gonna make it through. I'm determined to do all 25 days of Vlogmas. We're gonna see how it goes. But for this next day of Vlogmas, since I have a market tomorrow, I'm about to pack up my car, and I thought, what better video than to make my market display essentials video. And this has been on my list for a little while. I wanted to make one just to show you guys everything that I take to my market that is display related, that most markets do require you have. And then some just really fun stuff that I enjoy taking with me to give my booth some height, which is really important. Don't have everything laid out flat on your table, and I'll do another clip or another Vlogmas video on how I set up my booth, so you can kind of see how I actually use all of this display stuff. So first and foremost, one of the most important things if you do outdoor markets is going to be a canopy tent. I think this is from Walmart. It's a 10 by 10 straight leg white tent. Most events that I have done haven't really cared about the color of the tent, but I always recommend doing white because it just kind of brightens up the space a little bit. And 10 by 10 is the most common space size for an outdoor event. Some do 12 by 12. I usually always just take my 10 by 10 even if I have a 12 by 12 space. So this is in my top 3 most important things to have for your event. These can be kind of pricey, but it's important to make sure you get a really good quality one. This one has one of the center push buttons that you can push up and assemble it on your own. So if my fiance or somebody from my family can't come and help me set up my tent that day, this makes it really easy for me to do it on my own at the same time. So this is number 1, is the canopy tent. Alright, my second most important thing to take to any event is your tables. Now, if you don't need tables and you use shelves, that's fine. Most events will require you to have at least one table that's either 6 feet or 8 feet long. You can have more, but most will require you to have at least one table. I have 3. I have 2 6-foot tables, and then I have 1 4-foot table that I use as a backup. Usually I have it behind all of my displays so I can have all my bags and my thank you cards, my stickers, etc. all behind the display. But again, super important. You need places to store to display your items. Tables are a great way to do that. Another item that I find very important, not in my top 3, but definitely in my top 5 most important things to have: somewhere to sit. You may think 4 hours is not a very long time if you do a 4-hour market. When you have to stand on your feet the whole time, it's a long time. So I like to have chairs to sit in between customers, just to kind of give my feet a break, sit down, have a sip of water, have a little snack, And it's also got cup holders, which is a great place for me to put my phone or any of the small items like my square reader and things like that that I need within reach very quickly, so it doesn't get shuffled into my display anywhere. But yeah, definitely in my top 5 most important things, chairs. So this is in the line of not required, but this is a display item that I use that I really like. I try to pick display items that I can flat pack because I only have so much room in my car and I want most of the space in my car to go to my products. So this applies to all vendor events, not just crochet, which is what I do, but I got a folding plant stand, and I will show you how it's set up a little bit better at my market, but it basically opens out like an A-frame and these shelves go flat, but it's called a plant shelf. And I will have everything that I possibly can linked in the description, either on my Amazon storefront, or I will find the exact items that I purchased and I will link them from, it's usually from Joann's or Michael's or Hobby Lobby, but I will try to find everything that I possibly can and include links to those so you can get them too if you want to use the same thing that I do. But this one I think was from Amazon, and they're not very expensive, but I love this thing. It adds 3 shelves worth of space for me to display items. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about, again, is not a required item, but this is what I use to display some of my items, like my snugglers, if I have any wearables, anything that needs to hang to be displayed properly. I use these, but these are grid walls, and I have 2 of them. And I have little clips that clip on to my snugglers, and I just hang them all from the grid walls. They're super easy to see. They're displayed really nicely. I can also hang stuff off the top, like if I want to have a garland. Like this is a Christmas market that I'm going to, so I'll probably have a garland draped across the top just to kind of decorate a little bit. But I love these things. They're a little bit of an investment, but I have no regrets whatsoever. Okay, this next one, again, not required, just something that I like to have to add a little bit of height to my display. But this is another little A-frame plant stand that folds flat, and it fits inside my boxes. I love this as well. I usually pick one of my smaller items, like during Halloween. I had my ghosts sitting on this. I've displayed pumpkins on here, chubby ducks, things that will sit up really nicely, fit really well on this. And then, of course, this isn't really a display item, but I find it very important to have bags. You don't have to have branded bags, don't have to have paper bags. I have used plastic bags as well. I get these I order these from Uline, but you can find them on Amazon in smaller quantities. I buy them in bulk just because it's easier for me. It's not always easy for people to make that kind of investment up front, so I will link the same size bags that I use for my plushies, and the plastic bags did come from Amazon, so I will link everything again, like I said, in the description that I purchased. The stamp is a personalized, these are hand stamped. I got a personalized stamp from Etsy. I can link the store below as well where I got it from. I was super pleased with it. It's big and high quality, and it came really quickly. Alright, this next item is probably one of my favorites. I don't use it at every market. It just really depends on the market and how I'm going to lay out my booth. But I do have these on standby in case I need them. I do love them. They fully collapse, which makes them super, super easy to take to and from my markets. And they don't take too long to assemble, but these are grid cubes. So I'll pop up a photo of what they look like here on the screen, but essentially it's a cube shelf but in grid form, and it fully collapses, and there's just corner pieces that you snap into place. You can configure it however you would like to configure it. They're super easy. I usually split the cubes into 2 sets, one for each table, and I display my plushies on them, and I really like these. Again, if you don't have space for other display items, this is a really, really great option. I mean, there's a ton of grid cubes in here. I did purchase an extra pack of the corner pieces just because the way I was displaying or using these, I ran out of the little corner pieces. When I split them up, there's enough to put them all into one huge cube shelf, but when I split them, I needed extra corner pieces. So I did order an extra set of corner pieces so I could split them up, but you don't need to do that. Alright, the next item is my default go-to when it comes to displays. I like the look And even though they're bulkier to take to and from my markets, this is usually my preferred way to display my items at my markets. But it's using wooden crates, and I just painted the inside like this off-white cream color, and then I have a mix of pink and green on the outside as part of my display. It just kind of goes with my branding. But these are really great because you can store a lot of items inside. You can lean them up to the edges, you can stack them, and they're pretty sturdy, and set things on top, and it's gonna hold enough weight in case you have heavier items. So I always recommend using crates if you have heavier items. The grid cubes don't hold as much weight, but they're great for what I sell, which is crochet items. So it's usually relatively lightweight items. This is really great for sturdier, like heavier items, like candles, any like body lotions, things like that. This is a really, really great way to display your items and add some height to your displays. Okay, this next item is another one in the top 5. They usually are required, but even if they're not, I say they're very important. But it's tablecloths. I don't like having the black tables exposed. Most of the markets I've done have required you to cover the tables anyways. So I have 2 different sizes to make sure that the tablecloths reach the ground. That way I can also store extra bags, store extra product underneath my tables, and you can't see it from the front. So another very important item in my opinion. Okay, this is another important one. If you do, especially if you do indoor markets, if you do outdoor, a lot of times you can pull in somewhat near to where you're setting up. But if you're in indoor, you obviously can't pull your car up to your space. So a wagon. Obviously a wagon can be a really hefty investment up front, so it's not required. It's very helpful to have though. It just makes it easier because you can load all your stuff up, wheel it in, and then go back for another load. You don't have to like go back and forth carrying things, especially if you have heavy products. This is really, really helpful. We just have one because we go to the beach, so we usually have a beach wagon. So that's the one that I use. I was very fortunate that we already had that, but there are some affordable options out there. I will link a few of them in the description below in my Amazon storefront, or in the description. You can get them from places like Walmart, Academy Sports, Dick's, places like that. So, but I love the wagon. It has become a lifesaver multiple times over. I feel like that kind of got away from the display a little bit, but it's fine. This next item is something that I made myself. Again, it was something that I was gifted, but I do use it in my display just as something fun and to encourage custom orders. But I made it in one of my vlogs. But I have a custom order sign with my logo. This is all cut from vinyl using my Cricut and attached to a poster board in here. I want to redo this because this poster board is just like the standard like thin poster board, and I want to use a thicker cut poster board so that it doesn't get wrinkly like this. But I love this. I've gotten a couple of custom orders using this sign. And then obviously you can change it out and customize it however you want. Okay, this next one is in my top 3. So if you do outdoor markets, usually you have a canopy, and if you have a canopy, you're usually required to have tent weights to make sure your tent doesn't fly off. Now you can get these, hold on, you can get these for a reasonable price on Amazon. I will link these if you would like to get this style instead. However, I would recommend that you double up on these if you use them and have 2 per leg. They have little notches in them so you can actually lock them. You put them opposing so that they lock around the leg of your tent. But definitely double up just because the wind can be brutal. I've experienced it several times. But instead of these, I upgraded to bags. The reason being, you can put more weight in these. They are water resistant, so you don't have to worry about whatever's inside getting wet and moldy and gross. I have sand in mine, but you can fill it with rocks, you can fill it with dirt. They come empty, obviously, and they come in a pack of 4, and then they Velcro to your legs, and the top Velcro's closed. But there's much more weight in here, so I personally prefer using the sandbags just because it's a little bit more of a security thing for me. Because I was at one market in April of this year, and my tent almost flew off twice because I was using only one of the little disc ones. That's not to scare you off, but just to warn you to be prepared for windy days, because it happens. Okay, the next item is also not required, but it's good to have. But tent walls, especially if it's a rainy or windy day, the tent walls can help keep you dry, help keep your products dry, help keep the wind off of things. These zip to the top of my tent, and then they Velcro to the legs and to each other, so that and then they zip to each other as well. So it can be super helpful. I usually take 2 to every market just so I can close off the sides. If I'm super close to other vendors, I close off the sides, that way it can kind of keep my space separate from their space. The next item is a collapsible wooden shelf. This is fantastic. Again, always add height to your displays. It's just a little bit more eye-catching. People will always look eye level first before they look down, because it's inconvenient to look down. So looking straight ahead, adding height is always a great idea. Again, I'll add a picture of what it looks like assembled, because I'm not going to assemble this right now, but I'll add a picture right here on the screen so you can see it. But I love this thing as well. And then something else that I always take with me is reusable signage. These are just tiny little A-frame chalkboard signs, and I have 2 white markers, and I can just erase this and change it up if I need to add something else to my signage. And then I have another sign. This is one of those letter boards that you can change the lettering on. This is from my last market, so this will get changed out for this market tomorrow. But these are super helpful. The ones that I have a little kickstand on them, so they can just sit on a table like this, which is great. And then I usually bring tons of extra hooks because of my grid walls, and if I want to hang anything off of my tent, I have extra hooks. Thing that I recently invested in, again, not required straight off the bat, but you do want to make sure you're displaying your branding so people know who you are, and they will recognize you the next time you're at an event and they come across you. But I have a giant banner for the front of my tent, and it just has safari stitches on it, my logo on both sides, and then I actually have a QR code on mine that leads to my link tree, which has all of my social accounts, my Instagram, my YouTube. It has my Etsy, my Shopify, it has my Amazon storefront link to it. It pretty much has everything that anyone needs to know. My last market, I noticed a lot of people were scanning it as they walked by, so they didn't come into my booth, but they were scanning my QR code, and I was getting follows on Instagram from this sign. So I do recommend it. Obviously, for your first event, don't go spending a ton of money. I bought this from Vistaprint. It was relatively pricey, even though I cut some corners with trying to order as cheaply as possible. So again, not required, but definitely at least have a printed out sign. You can just create your logo, print it on notebook paper, and put it in a picture frame and have it on your table. Like, that's a really cheap and easy way to display your logo. But I always recommend having your brand posted somewhere in your booth. The next thing, I went back and forth on these a lot, and I finally went for it, and I really, really like using these, but these are collapsible baskets. They are plastic, but They're a decent size, and like I said, they fully collapse down. So they take up very minimal space in my boxes to go back and forth to markets, and I use these to display smaller items, items that I have multiples of, like my pickles that need to be sat up so you can see what they are. I use these, and I have two different sizes. I have small ones, and then I have one that's about double this size, and I use these at almost every single market. I got mine from Joann's when they were on sale. They were like $2 or $3 a piece, but you can get them online as well. Again, I will link everything in the description below. The next thing I have is my safety eye warning sign. This doesn't stop people from suing you if something were to happen, but I like having it out there because sometimes parents just see an animal and they think it's super cute and they just end up buying it without even thinking about the fact that there might be a choking hazard. So I like to have this just as a reminder for parents, like, hey, I do have baby safe options. All my snugglers are fully baby safe. There's no hard parts. I've also started including embroidered eyes. My baby bees are embroidered. There's a lot of items on my table that are embroidered. It's about 50-50 embroidered and plastic hard eyes. So I just have this on my table so that parents know, like, hey, safety eyes may not be safe for your little one, but I have tons of options. Along the same note, I have a picture frame that has all of the forms of payment that I take, including my Venmo payment code. So if someone walks up and they want to pay with Venmo, instead of having to get my phone out, open up Venmo, because I use Square to take payments on cards and everything, I can just go here, hold this up, they can scan it, they can send me the payment, I can verify it with a notification that pops up, and then they're good to go. So this is super, super handy. Another handy item to have in your tool belt when you go to a market is bungee cords. You can use this to attach your tent to your tables. You can tie down banners or signs. This is just a really nice thing to have. You may not need it every single time, but they come in handy, and sometimes another vendor may need one and you have one an extra that they can borrow, which is, I always let people borrow things if they need it. So these are really, really great to have. And I believe this is the last thing that I have that I take to every single market with me, and it's my emergency market kit. So since I make plushies, I have thread in here and tapestry needles just in case I need to fix anything on my table. I always have a pen, and then I have extra pins in here for my tagging. And then if we open it up, I need to reorganize this because it's gotten to be a mess, but I have extra string, I have cotton so I can embroider eyes, I have extra business cards, I have tons of zip ties. I need to reorganize this, so please don't judge me for what I have going on here. And then I do also have an emergency first aid kit because, again, you never know. And a roll of tape at the back there. These are just plain white cards that I've used before to just kind of sign things if I don't have a sign for it. And then the only other thing I have in here are little tabletop displays. So you can like put a piece of paper in these and display them. It's a photo holder. So that's pretty much everything that's in here. I have a tiny screwdriver, I have pens and a Sharpie. This is just kind of like a catch-all for all of my supplies that I might need in a day at a market. Alright, you guys, we are officially loaded and ready to go. My plushies are upstairs. I'm not going to put those in the car until tomorrow morning, but that is pretty much everything that I take. Sometimes I change things up a little bit and I'll take different display shelves, different baskets. Like I have baskets that look like this that I'll take sometimes, depending on how many of something I have. So everything is kind of interchangeable. I've collected this stuff over the whole year of markets that I've been doing. So don't think you have to go out and spend a ton of money up front to get all of these display items. It's definitely not necessary. Just the bare minimum when you're starting out is perfectly okay. But with all of that being said, that's everything. Again, everything will be listed and linked in the description so you can find it easily. And I hope this was super helpful. If you liked this video and you want to see more like this, please make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, and you can even hit the notification bell so you get notified every time I post a new video. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye y'all.